Hey, what is going on? This is Jake with Exodus, and today we're going to be talking about late season trail camera tips to hopefully find a buck to hunt late winter and also take into account for late season scouting. Today we are doing the very first card check of 2019, and we're also doing the last ditch effort to find a buck to get on here before the season's over. And it's like 50 degrees here, January 6th, and the conditions aren't quite right, but we're gonna check the cameras and see what we find, and hopefully it's something good. The very first tip is probably very obvious. Set up over food sources. And this is a pretty high dense timber area. There's not a lot of ag ground here in a square mile block on the north end of it. So with that being said, this is pretty high value food source for local deer, and we have one camera set up on one point here. After checking the first camera, there was some deer here recently feeding, so I think when we go check out some of those rut cameras that are still up, we'll be taking those down and moving them over here to hopefully get a better bead on what's coming in here to feed when, and also the way the topography of the cornfield, there's probably more than different deer groups feeding in each section. So with some extra cameras, we'll be hopefully finding that out soon. All right, the second tip here is to not be afraid to move your cameras. I think the rut's in your memory, and man, there's a giant buck to walk through here even mid-December or even late December. There's a late doe running around in heat. Right now it's time to switch them to food, so I haven't been able to check these cameras, and let's check them. That used to be tall CRP. Obviously the winter knocked everything down, so we're gonna check this one and relocate it, kind of like we mentioned here a little bit before. So number 2, don't be afraid to move your cameras. I'm gonna go ahead and check this second camera here, let you know if anything's exciting on it. My guess is that there's probably just yearlings cruising through here, headed to the food source, which is a decent ways away. They have been bedding up here quite a bit. There's a lot of different ridges, ridge tops and fingers. Real good sun that comes in here to give them some heat in this weather. So we'll see what's on there, and hopefully a big buck. Went ahead and took down that camera. We're gonna be putting it over the cornfield. There was a real nice 8-pointer that came here on Christmas Day, which I suspect there was a hot doe in the area. Not too far from here, there's another nice buck on a doe on the day after Christmas. So putting that in your mental note. Nothing on here that I can move in and try to hunt yet. We have 3 more cameras to check, so hopefully we find something. If not, guess you're all learning. I went ahead and took down that camera. There was nothing really on there that would let me put a move on a buck, and just gonna move it to a food source at this point. This leads to tip number 3 though. Let your camera soak throughout this time. The deer have been pretty heavily pressured around here throughout bow season and shotgun season, and there hasn't been a front in here that I felt comfortable to come in and try to make an aggressive move. There hasn't even been snow to come in and look for fresh signs, so I don't know if it's the best thing to do, but I've been letting my camera soak. I hope to find something that I can make a move on here today, but if not, we're gonna move them to food sources and kind of go from there. We have 3 more cameras to check. Hopefully there's something on there that we can try to piece together and get on something, but if not, we're moving them to food sources. We're checking the 3rd camera here today, and this is pretty tied in close to doe bedding. I got aggressive during the rut, put this camera up. I was actually in the process of hanging a set, but I didn't have the equipment I needed with me that day to get that set finished. But this camera could have some deer on here as it travels close to the food nearby, and it's kind of a shot in the dark at this point, but there's a good chance I'm gonna leave this camera here. But the way this is set up reminds me so much of where I shot my buck in 2017. It's close to doe bedding, rolling hills, ag ground nearby. If I was in here, I would have shot a nice buck as well, but you know how that goes. All right, camera 3 had some nice deer on there. Nothing still to go ahead and make a move on it. It's sporadic and random at this point. This camera I've been really happy with. I just checked the fourth camera here and it was on video mode over a scrape, and even mid-December there was deer coming in here checking the scrape. There's a short tined kind of wide 8 in here that was frequently in here. I never seen him on the hoof yet, but as suspected, he's has to be living here close by. I had him in velvet. He was hanging out with the same couple little bucks, and there's some little buck spawn right through here. And honestly, if I get the opportunity in cold front, I might come in and try to shoot that 8-pointer. I don't know if I'll be fortunate enough to have the opportunity, but I'm gonna leave this camera here. And this leads to tip number 4, and that's to run Energizer lithium batteries, especially in the winter. This camera's been here, it's been run on video mode, and it's still 100%. And if you haven't heard from us saying to use Energizer lithiums, there is a link in the description that describes all the different batteries you can use for trail cameras and why lithiums are kind of our favorite pick this time of year. I was walking through here checking one of my cameras, and I was lucky enough to find a bouquet of smiley face balloons pretty close to a bedding area. Hard to tell how they landed there. What do you think? Are they good luck? Are they good luck? I sure hope so. So we're gonna pick those up and throw them away, but what are the odds? What's the craziest thing you've ever found while checking cameras? Mine is a bouquet of smiley face balloons. In typical dramatic fashion, just checked the last camera and finally saw what I wanted to see here. There's a real nice buck in here, 2 days in daylight in the evening. What I would assume is heading to food. He was with some does. Don't know that for sure, but I had my stand already set up. I was gonna take it down yet today, but everything is looking pretty solid. The next cold front I'm gonna be in here and hopefully try to lay eyes on him. He looks like a really solid 10-point. And it's the bottom of the 9th, but hopefully we can put something together. This goes to show I have cameras littered all through here, and one camera's the one that kind of tipped everything off that there's nice deer in here in daylight, still killable. So I know typically it's not always easy to run as many cameras as you want, but that's tip number 5. Try to run as many cameras as you can effectively without negatively impacting where you hunt. In this case, I'm running 5 or 6 here on a pretty small piece, and I think that's about the right number the way everything's structured. So that's the last tip. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm gonna go ahead and put those 2 other cameras up on some food. I'm gonna leave this camera here, and I might actually put one of the cameras here trying to cut off and see where exactly he's headed for that food source. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I would love to know, are you still out there grinding for a buck, or have you shifted to kind of late season scouting? And also, I would love to hear your late season tips. By no means are we experts, but we would love to hear what you guys think, and I think there's value for everyone. So until next time, see ya.